Hello and welcome everybody to another Victoria 3 video, and this time we are going to be talking about the third monthly update that has recently come out. It came out yesterday, and it is just the devs talking about all of the different dev diaries, and there is some new information in there, and I do encourage you to go and watch it. But what we're going to be doing today is looking at all of the new images that have come out in this video, talking about them, seeing if there's anything new, seeing if there's any interesting information to glean from them, and making our opinions, just wild speculations and all that kind of stuff based on just some static images that aren't representative of the full game. So, before I want to do that though, I do want to quickly make mention of something that is sort of like the nasty underbelly of the whatever this community is. I'm not talking about specifically the people who watch my videos. I know you're all lovely people and you wouldn't be caught dead doing anything of the sort. But I just want to talk about something that has cropped up in these monthly update videos, and it is about this lady here. This is Sana Valapura, and she is amazing. She does a really very good job being the community ambassador for Victoria 3. She's front and center in these videos, and unfortunately, there is a large... saying it is large is probably not true, right? It could be a small subset, it could be a medium subset, whatever size you think is appropriate, whatever. Personally, I think there's too many, right? Too many people are hating on this woman for the audacity of... Look, I don't know. They don't like that she has blue hair, perhaps. But I just wanted to point out one thing, and that is that the Victorian era is full of people who are incredibly flamboyant. The upper class, I mean, they're still very flamboyant. In the Victorian era, they were very flamboyant, and if you think that they wouldn't dye their hair blue, you're wrong. They absolutely would dye their hair blue because the flamboyancy of the upper class is just, it's there. It really is. They just didn't have the ability to dye their hair blue in this regard. But they have it now, and they would, Honestly, I can't... That's the only thing I can come up with as to the reason why this woman is being attacked, and I think that is bullshit, and it needs to stop. And yeah, I've just taken out 3 minutes at the start of this video about the update, because this needs to be said. I know none of you are doing it, but I need to make mention of it, because it's not fair. With that out of the way, Sana, you're doing a great job. Please continue, and we will also continue with our video. First off, well, we've got 37 images to go through. Some of them we have seen before. Alright, we have seen this one before. This is the base price of steel in Perm in the Russian market. We've seen this before. There's nothing new to glean from this, but just to go over it. Again, shows the price, the production, consumption, how many sell and buy orders there are. There is something that is somewhat interesting. It's not something new, but it's something that has been brought up to me. And that is that goods don't actually tangibly exist in the way that they do in Victoria 2. In Victoria 2 you had stockpiles, and I've lamented over the lack of stockpiles, but it goes a little bit deeper than that, and that's that goods don't really exist. Goods have buy orders and sell orders. Those are the things that tangibly exist, or I guess tangibly is not really the correct term here. And the entire economy works on not physical, again, physical is not the right word, but not individual so many things of this good, right? It works on orders now instead, which may simplify the market for the AI while leaving very little difference in the minds of the player, or maybe makes it easier for the player to understand. They have to just think about supply and demand rather than stockpiles and such. Maybe, I don't know. Either way, that's the way the economy sort of seems to work at this point, and whether you think that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'll leave that up to you to decide. I am, as of yet, undecided. I still lament the lack of stockpiles for certain goods, but buy orders and sell orders seem to work reasonably well for most things. Moving on, we see the Japanese market, and we can see they have, they've sorted this list by, I think, sell orders, so we can see what exactly they are selling. We've got wheat, grains, we've got fish, we've got cloth, lumber, balls. I should have tried to remember what these were before we started. Administration things, the admin points, the things that you administrate your country with, those things. Tobacco and clothing. It's quite nice. And the balance of these, they're not having a very good time. Their economy is not very, it's not very good right now. They're selling more than they're buying. They are selling way more fish than they're buying. Oh, actually, they're selling less fish than they're buying, etc. You can see what we're going on here. Just showing off sell orders and buy orders. You can, quickly sort out and see what your economy is up to, what you're selling the most of, what you're buying the most of. Maybe help you to, where you want to focus your efforts in the future of, of your country. Moving on, we have the Customs Union of the Prussian market. I'm not sure why the flags are so small here. I know it's hovering over the capitals, I think. Although I'm pretty sure Denmark's capital is over, here. So maybe not. I'm not sure. But either way, we're seeing the markets here, the Prussian market, Hanover, and some of the surrounding little nations are in the British market, the Dutch market there, the Belgian market, including Luxembourg in the Belgian market. Nothing really too insane looking here. Relatively similar border-wise to the spheres, other than, of course, Bavaria, Württemberg, and maybe is it Baden? I can't recall. The statelings should be in the the Austrian sphere. Just again reiterating the fact that sphere of influence and market is not synonymous. Moving on, we have market access in the UK. It's weird. This is a very weird screenshot in my opinion, because once you have 100% market access, you can't see your you can't see your country anymore. It's just pure block color. It would show you at a glance who has less market access, for sure. Of course, we see the Midlands here having the least market access, which makes sense. It's a very wide province here with only a little bit of a port on one side. The people living here, if they're having to transport their goods to this port to get them across the water, then they're not going to have a good time. It's just an interesting screenshot. I'm not sure how much I like the way that they're showing this information, It's, I suppose, I can't think of a better way to do it. I'm just not sure it looks aesthetically pleasing, Moving on, though, we have the national markets of the Americas. And, nothing too much to say about this one. American market's pretty big. Texas should be a part of the American market, I think. As I don't know a massive amount about American history, but I do recall that one of the big reasons that Texas seceded from Mexico and then went to the USA was because lots of American settlers went to Texas, and then when they started basically trading with the Americans rather than trading with the Mexicans, because Mexico had pretty shitty infrastructure around here and they couldn't really do anything effectively up in the northern parts of their country. So Texas started trading with the Americas more. Does that mean they should be a part of the American market? Victoria 3 certainly doesn't think so. I could see an argument to be made either way. But you can see there. We've also got the Lakota American Indian reservation, or not reservation, not at this point at least. What's the it's not Indian anymore, it's the Native American. I think both are, depending on where you're from, I think both are applicable. But either way, they've got their own market as well, which is kind of interesting. Moving on, we have the Indies. We've got Brunei having their own market because, of course, Britain hadn't conquered, British Borneo at this point. I think they have, in Victoria 2, I believe they have like an outpost or something here. But yeah, Brunei has, still controls their own land at this point. The Dutch are pretty large and expansive in the East Indies at this point, so we could probably see the Dutch expanding their market over here. Not much to really point out here. Siamese have their own market. I can't recall what this nation is called in this era. Apologies. But yeah, they've got their own Philippines in the Spanish market, of course. Aceh have their own market. Is this symbol here? Obviously, it seems like it's the flag of Aceh. It seems different to what it is in Victoria 2, but I'm not certain. So don't quote me on that one. But yeah, there's also the blue lines are the overseas connections, or the connections of trade going to and from and where it goes. We've yet to see how that works, I believe. So it'll be, that's something to look forward to. Next, we have furniture in the French market. I believe this is an image we've already seen before. You can see that they are very expensive furniture, as shown by both the word expensive and by how many gold coins are there. You can see the amount of sell orders and buy orders. France would do very well if it created some more furniture. But again, this is another image that we have previously seen. And then we have the goods shortage of sugar in Bohemia. You can see you'd need 25% of the buy orders being satisfied to avoid penalties, and we can see what these penalties are. So in this case, the penalty is... no, it doesn't show what the penalty is, but it shows that there is a penalty. Fair enough. My apologies for that one. But yeah, it'd be nice to show what the penalty is, just resulting in an penalty. An penalty. In an penalty. And penalty? Okay, Jeremy. Moving on. And then we've got also the sugar here, seeing what exactly is going on. It's very expensive, and maybe this plus 50% is the penalty here. Because 50% just exactly bang on 50% seems like an awfully round number to come out naturally. Maybe that is why it is, that's why it's making me think it's the penalty at least. But of course, Bohemia being inside the Austrian market means that, the Austrian market has a big influence on it as well. So, yeah, we can see exactly what's going on with sugar. Moving on, we have another image that we've seen before. There's not enough dyes to produce the precious clothing, the nice clothing, so the best thing to do in this case would be to change your production method to a method that doesn't include dyes. Maybe so you can produce bog standard shitty clothing instead. That might be better. It would certainly improve your profits. Then we have India. We can see a lot here. Persian market, Afghan market, Kalati market, lots of different ones here. And then the British market, the entirety of India. And very interestingly, it's something that I pointed out previously when we were talking about how Britain was inside the French market. And I can show you that here. Pacha. Is it actually? No, scroll up. There it is. The French market, including Britain. So, I pointed out that this is very interesting, and we're likely to see France inside the British market as well. And this, I believe, shows exactly that, because this little territory right here is Pondichéry, which is the French possession in India at the start of Victoria 2, and of course just in 1836 in real life as well. Who would think it? But yeah, we can see here, that's the one I want to show you. This is India in Victoria 2, and you can sort of make some parallels here of what's changed and what is the same. There's a bit of this land here should be, it's owned by the British, but it is in the Burmese market. That's quite interesting. We could probably see Britain, their flag being in the Burmese market as well. And yeah, it's just interesting to, make a little bit of a comparison. Bits of British India up here and part of the Punjabi market as well, etc. It's interesting stuff. Next up, we have infrastructure and how to increase it, showing the railway in Cuba. And also, quite interestingly, there's a lot more trees, a lot more going on with the graphics than we have previously seen in earlier screenshots. And I think, while it looks a little bit grainy and maybe a little iffy in still images, I think this may be a sign that it's going to look really good in motion. I think we're going to see a game that is very, very pretty, but can look a little bit off in screenshots. That's the way I'm kind of thinking about it right now. But yeah, lovely. Build a railway in Cuba. Makes sense. It's 36% of the way there to becoming a level 2 railway, which is great. Good for Guantanamo. Yep. And then also we're increasing it in the Midlands as well. As we saw earlier, the Midlands don't have exactly the best infrastructure, so it's level 2 now. We're also increasing it, or changing the production methods to be wooden passenger carriages instead of cargo prioritization. So doing this will increase the production of transportation, it'll increase the consumption of wood, and it'll also lower the infrastructure in the region. Which I guess makes sense because your infrastructure is mainly based on goods production, and if you can haul fewer goods because you're hauling people instead, that makes sense why the infrastructure would go down just as much. And then we have our first image, I think, of Japan, which is nice. It's very cool indeed. We can see how much infrastructure is being used in Chubu, which is the region where I think Tokyo's here, right? Kyoto's about here, but Tokyo's around here. I think. I might be completely off on that one. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. We can see what is using the infrastructure. Apparently there is exactly 100, which to me seems very, very round, but it might be just, natural. It seems natural. But you can see exactly what is using it, which is nice. There is 50 infrastructure though, so we're lagging behind. We're going to need to increase the amount of infrastructure usage because, it's a pretty simple formula. You have 50 infrastructure, you need 100, therefore you have 50% market access. Very simple, very easy to understand, and something that you're going to have to fix if you are playing Japan. Then we have Austria, exactly the same situation. We've got 100, well, it's not the same situation, it's quite the opposite. You got 190 infrastructure. We only need 87, therefore we have 100% market access. Fantastic stuff. Seeing what is used, or what is creating the infrastructure this time rather than using it. You've got 30 from the Danube River. It was theorized that we were going to see the Danube River be one of the infrastructure or provincial boons. I forget what individual terms are. I apologize for that. But we recently saw the Great Lakes as one of them, and I theorized that the Danube River would be another, and it seems that is true. You get 30 from that. 100 from steam trains, capital state, market capital, urbanization. You get a bit of base value to help out the AI, urban planning, modern sewerage, all that good stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of infrastructure here. Interestingly, though, not as much used as in Japan, but when you've got 100% market access, you're probably going to make a better profit regardless. Also, a nice bit of the Austrian lands here, which, yeah, it looks good. I think it looks good. Next up, we have the local economy in Bihar, part of the British market. We've got dyes here. They're slightly cheaper. You can see, again, the text, and also by the coin. At some point, the coins are going to make sense to people. It's going to be like, oh, 5 silver coins. That's around about 30% cheaper. I don't know what they are yet. That was 30%. It's just something I picked off the head. Oh, it's 20%. 5 coins means 20% cheaper. That is going to come to us in time of playing. Right now, it's definitely not there, but we haven't played the game yet, so that's natural. But yeah, we can see that. Lovely. Next up, we have our vision of Italy, which looks quite lovely. The sea looks a lot bluer than it does elsewhere. It looks gorgeous. Looks gorgeous. We have the market access as well. Just again seeing images of the market access. This time 60 infrastructure, and we need 96, meaning we have 62%. And we've hovered over the previous two numbers. Now we're hovering over market access, and you can see what's going on here. Market access is 60% because infrastructure is higher than, usage is higher than infrastructure. Market access is reduced, connection to the Sicily market through a land route. This part at the bottom is interesting because if you were to connect, say, Palermo here with Naples here via a naval route or a sea route or a naval trade route or whatever, basically build a fucking port in Palermo, you would very much increase, I believe, your infrastructure. Because you wouldn't be connected through to the Sicilian market through a land route, you'd be connected through a naval route, which is, I think, way more efficient. But it's yet to be seen exactly how much more efficient. I don't think we've seen much about naval routes just yet. But it's something that I expect to see soon-ish. Next up, we have Lombardy, and we can see how the Alps mountain range is also another thing that affects infrastructure. So there's one thing that has been pointed out here that is a little bit iffy, and that is Lombardy is the region that is south of the Alps. It's actually relatively flat. So if you were to connect, say, Venice to, let's say, Milan, you're going from the province of Veneto through Verona here and then over to Milan. You're not actually going through any mountains, and yet you do have this negative 15% state region infrastructure penalty, which doesn't seem entirely realistic. The mountains maybe should be their own region, and it should hurt trade going from north to south of the mountains, but with it being Lombardy in general, this doesn't make a massive amount of sense, in my opinion, and in the opinion of others who have pointed this out. Yeah, it's a thing. It's something to think about. Next up, we have Para, which is Brazil. And we can see that the Amazon rainforest, it's not just about infrastructure. This time, the Amazon rainforest increases the hardwood output by 25%, but it also reduces infrastructure. But you know, there's more than just infrastructure as part of these modifiers, which is nice to see. We have the motor industry, so this is a late game kind of tech. We can see who is being employed in this motor industry. 400 capitalists. There's only one Mixtec Catholic engineer, but there's also a Zapatec Catholic engineer and 2,000 Mexican Catholic engineers. I think it would kind of be nice if this was sorted a bit better, if I'm being honest. Choose something to sort it by. Either by the amount of people, so we would start with 11.6k, then move to 5.58k, etc. Or you sort it by their job, which personally I would prefer. Start with capitalists, then show all your engineers, then show all your machinists, then show all your laborers, right? Do something like that. This, I don't know what this is being sorted by. Because it's certainly not sorted by numbers. It's certainly not sorted by jobs. Because you've got engineers and then engineers down here. It's not sorted by culture. Because you've got Mexican at the top and then Mexican down here. It's not sorted by a version of the spelling, right? Because say we're sorting laborers by their culture's spelling. Well, we've got Nahua, and then we've got Mixtec laborers, and they're all Catholic, so it certainly can't be sorted there. There is no rhyme or reason to how this is sorted, and that is something I think maybe should be fixed. But yeah, you can see who's employed. Cool. We've got the wheat farms and seeing who is employed here. I got clergy, you got aristocrats, farmers, labourers. And I saw some people complaining about South Indian culture. I don't know anything about South Indian culture, whether it existed or not, or what it is, so I can't comment on that. I can just tell you that some people have complained about it. So that's all I can say about it, really. We have the chemical plants, and we've gone into the workforce instead of just seeing the drop-down menu. There's only, 20% of the capitalists are employed here. We need to employ more capitalists. We've got engineers, machinists, labourers, etc. And the labourers are kind of starving, so maybe feed them a little bit more. Maybe if the capitalists weren't, hogging all the fucking food, you could feed the labourers. Moving on. The professions as well. It's quite nice. I like these. I've made multiple of them into emojis on my Discord, which you can find a link to in the description below. We talk about Victoria 3 quite a lot, so you should go and join it. Link in the description. Next up, we have the Qualifications of Ljubljana, which is in Slovenia. I was about to say Serbia. I would have been wrong about that. This symbol literally means it's a placeholder. PH, placeholder. You see the potential qualifications in Serbia, and how many people are turning into those jobs every month. So there is there's a potential for 9.03k aristocrats, and we're getting 8.49 of them per month. I'm sure there'll be ways to encourage this in one way or the other. Who knows? But I think the most important thing about this screenshot is just this is the closest we've seen a screenshot of a city. And I don't know about you, but I think this looks fucking great. I really do think this looks great. And it honestly looks like we're seeing what's in the city as well, right? We've got our urban center, the park and all that kind of shit, right? But we've got 3 factories here. I would not be surprised if we saw the rest of this screenshot that there would be 3 factories here. I would not be surprised about that in the least. A barracks, perhaps, or a military area, right? These look like barracks. I would not be surprised as well if there was some kind of barracks here. Let me know if you think I'm wrong here or barking up the wrong tree or whatever, but that's what that looks like to me. That's what this looks like to me. If I'm right, I'm very happy. Administrative building, perhaps? Who knows? Well, I'm sure the devs know, but this is my educated guess. Perhaps. We'll see. We'll see. That's what I'll want it to be, at least. Next up, we have more qualifications. You can see the monthly change in qualifications. We've seen this image before. It is not new to us, but it was somewhat difficult to decipher last time, or the first time we saw it. Just showing that, if you discriminate against Sudanese people, they're not going to promote to aristocrats quite so fast. It's going to be very, very difficult for them to promote. And, you may need aristocrats to run some of your, potentially, your farms, your mines, all that kind of thing. You might need some aristocrats. And if you're discriminating against Sudanese who don't have too many aristocrats, then your mines and your farms and stuff may end up closing down. So discrimination doesn't really pay. You're going to either have to import aristocrats from your home country, or you're just going to have to accept the Sudanese. One of these is easier than the other. I would say you should probably just accept the Sudanese, let's be honest. More stuff on chemical plants and who is qualified for it. It can't hire any capitalists. 500 pops fulfill the qualifications to become capitalists in Slovenia. The chemical plants want to hire 5,000 of them, though. So it's basically saying, look, we can't employ anyone. There's literally no one here. We can't. So yeah, the wages must have to start coming down so that these people, right, 500 people fulfill the qualifications, but these 500 might have a job elsewhere, which is paying them much more, and therefore they don't want to come and work in this chemical plant. You have to increase, or I guess not you can't do it yourself, but the game, or this chemical plant would have to increase the wages to entice the 500 capitalists, the 600 engineers, the 4,500 machinists. Yeah, that's what you're going to have to do. That's what you have to do. And it's nice to get a little bit more information in the tooltip, which is quite lovely. Next up, Furniture manufacturers and their wages. So the earnings, and we've got to see the wages here, and the graph of how the wages are doing. 547%. Interesting. It is the 38th most productive building in the world. 523% productivity compared to the average building. It's nice to see this. That's really cool. I love seeing, the rank. That's going to be, I think, the multiplayer kind of big dick contest is who has the most productive building in the world. That's going to be super interesting. That's what I'm going to be aiming for, at least. More stuff about wages. This is the same French manufacturing, and we're looking here about the earnings per employee compared to other French manufacturers. 44% better than others, which is quite nice. Or actually, it's 41%. Oh, that's still productivity, never mind. Motor industry wages. You can see the average annual wage for each of the different professions that work inside it. And this is in Iran. All right, the budget here, which is, I think we've seen this image before. It's not for the USA. We saw USA, and we also saw one more country when we were talking about the economy. The other, Turkey, or I guess the Ottoman Empire. This is neither of them. This is something entirely new, and a bit later in the game, I would imagine. The revenue of £572,000. You can see where that money is coming from. Investment fund, meaning there's quite a lot of capitalists. We've got diplomatic pacts there, minting, dividends, taxes, but the big portion of the income is coming from consumption taxes. There's a lot. This could entirely be Britain. This honestly could be Britain in 1836 even, because a lot of Britain's revenue during this period came from the taxes on tea. Brits like tea. Just putting that out there. If you ever get on the bad side of a Brit, get him a cup of tea. Be alright. More stuff on the budget, and we can see the lack of sliders, which has... it's still annoying some people. It is what it is, though. You can see exactly, income taxes, we're going to make that much from it. If we want to increase the income taxes, probably going to piss some people off. We've got poll taxes, consumption taxes, and you'd be able to add another consumption tax if you want. It would cost you authority. You can see your expenses as well. Constructions, wages, goods for government buildings, military wages, all that kind of good stuff. More stuff on expenses here. You can hover over the government wages to see exactly how that money is being spent. So government administration, buildings, ports, universities, trade centers, and arts academies, seeing how exactly that money is being spent. And, if you're thinking, it's too much money, you can lower it just a little bit and piss some people off. And we have gold. Gold fields in Santiago. It increases the amount of minting that you get per level. Which is, you also see how many employees. I'm still iffy on how very flat these numbers are. It's like, oh yes, it employs exactly 10,000 people. And if we up the amount, up the level of the gold fields, we'll employ 15,000 people. It's such a round number, and I don't like round numbers. It doesn't look natural, and this doesn't look natural. The cash reserves as well. 50,000 exactly. No more, no less. Not even a penny. Either way, it just doesn't seem natural to me. Next up, again, we have more stuff on income, and we can see we're hovering over national revenue and seeing all of this information put smaller. Is there a need for this? Not really, because it's all here already, right? You can hover over hover over this and see this little thing, but income tax is 173k. Yeah, the number's right here. Number's right here. I'm not sure there is a need for this. I guess you get a graph, which is nice. But this graph should be front and center anyway, so I'm not sure this is necessary, if I'm being honest. And again, stuff about budgets. We got loans. You can see that I think this is Britain, right? Pretty sure we saw this image before and it was about Britain. But But there's a massive credit limit of 17.8 million, which is made up of all of the buildings that you have. And then you can see how much debt you have. We've got 4.8 million debt or principal, I guess. You've got 12.9 million remaining debt until you basically go insolvent. But you're probably fine if you're able to pay off the amount of interest that you have on this debt. Then you're going to be totally fine. It's not going to affect you in any way. It's going to be great. Moving on to the second last image. Again, we have taxes. Lots of stuff on the economy this month for sure. This is the payroll tax and the different laws that you can enact for it. Do you want no income tax? Do you want payroll tax, proportional income tax, graduated income tax, etc., etc.? And how many people in your country would vote for it? So, it's fairly even between no income tax. Some people don't want income tax, some people do. Payroll tax, a lot of people want it, not very many people don't. Etc., etc., and if you want to, move to better, it might not even be better. It's better for some, of course, not better for others. But if you want to move to there, you're going to have to, get your different interest groups to support those motions. And finally, onto our last image, the gold reserves investment pool. And, that's just another one of those images that's got a lot of text in a big old tooltip. It's quite nice. There's a lot in Victoria 3, for sure. You see how many, all of your buildings that are investing into your gold reserves. Gold reserves are made via the amount of excess income, but if you have too much of a gold reserve, then you're not going to get as much efficiency out of it. So once you hit 100% of your reserves limit, which in this case is... where would it show that? I think it's 9.2 million, perhaps? No, that's loans. I'm not sure exactly how much it'd be, but it looks like we're about maybe 2/3 of the way there, so we'll call it maybe 8 million, 8.5 million. Once you reach that 8.5 million, any money that you invest into the gold reserves after that, which again is profit made by your buildings, is going to be less efficient. So say you are making 108k every single week or month. I'm not sure what that is. Once you hit 100%, that 108k may go down to 105k. Once you hit 150% of your reserve, that 108k might be down to 50k. You're still making the same amount of money, but you're getting less of that benefit. So that is how that works, as far as I'm aware. But that is the end of the images. We're going back onto steel here, and I'd like to know what you guys think. Do you like me doing these videos, showing off all of the different images that are shown in this video? And I do recommend you go and watch the video. It is very good. There is a lot of new information and stuff, and more explanations of information and the reasons why certain things have been made in the way that they are. So I do recommend you go and watch it. I will link it in the description below, along with a playlist to the rest of my Victoria 3 videos and my Discord and all of the links and stuff and whatever. So you could follow me on things and maybe do the like button and subscribe button and all that YouTuber jazz. Anyway, it's been a long video. Thank you very much for watching it, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.